What if I told you that the pain that you're experiencing right now in your life, the suffering that you're going through, could actually be one of the greatest gifts you could ever have? Today, guys, I'm going to show you how to become the alchemist of your life, how to turn your pain into your power. So, how do we turn this pain into power? How is it that our pain can be one of our greatest gifts when maybe it causes us so much suffering, so much uncomfortable feelings in our lives? I get it. Well, the first thing that we want to dive into here, guys, is number one, what is the role of our pain and our struggle? Well, number one is how could you ever know what you desire in your life if you don't know what you don't want? Right? You can't know what you do want if you haven't experienced what you don't want. So that's number one, is that pain shows you what you actually do want for yourself. Number two is oftentimes in our struggles, in our suffering, there is lessons to be learned to allow us to keep growing and expanding in our lives. And suffering comes when we keep holding on to what's not actually ours, when we keep playing a program that must go and be released. That's where suffering really comes on. It's like you're holding on to a thorn in your skin when your body's trying to push it out, but you're keeping it in there. Okay. And maybe that's because we're scared of letting it go, right? Scared of the unknown, whatever it may be. So pain and suffering is there to also teach us beautiful, beautiful lessons about ourselves as well. You know, one of the quotes I love when it comes to explaining this is I asked God for strength, therefore God gave me challenges to go through. What that means is that you might have desires that you'll put out into the world that you ask for, that you want, but it's never how it seems to be. But it will get you there. As soon as you ask for it, the world will start reorganizing in a way that aligns with what you do want. But what happens is that our animal mind likes to take so much control and try to figure out the how so much. And our animal brain only cares about safety and survival. So when things start reorganizing our lives, when things start, systems start to fall down, old beliefs start to pop up that we have to face, maybe it's trauma, this is where we back off because we get so scared. But the magic behind that is that if you're willing to keep going through it, on the other side is exactly what you want. It's the freedom. It's exactly what you asked for. So oftentimes, the pain and suffering in our lives is there to teach us a lesson so we can keep moving forwards and onwards. So number one is that it teaches us what we actually do want in our lives so we can go make it happen. And number two is it helps us expand and grow, right? Again, I asked for strength. I got challenges to move through so I can get stronger. I got what I wanted. It just wasn't how I expected it, right? I thought I was just going to automatically get strength. No, it's never how it seems. And this is why, side note, why it's so important for us to let go of so much control. And this is the paradox. When you're willing to let go of control, as in try not to control every aspect and define how things are working out and how it's working, and you just fully accept how things are working out and you just stay in the present moment and go in that flow, you actually have way much more control. Way much more control. So, how do you become the alchemist so you can change what it is that you do not want, right? How do we turn lead into gold? How do we change pain into power? Well, one thing that you got to remember is that you are not the cloud. Okay? We often get caught up thinking that we're the clouds in our lives. But you've got to remember that you are, sorry guys, can't spell today. You are the sky. And what I mean by that is that you are the entire thing. This cloud that you might be going through in your life, maybe it's a problem in your business, in a relationship, in your life, in a struggle, whatever it may be. This problem you're going through will not be forever. It doesn't have to be, that's for sure. But you got to remember that you are the sky, right? This problem, this challenge, whatever you're going through is just a cloud. And those clouds can pass. But what happens to a lot of us is that we keep replaying these stories about ourselves, these beliefs about ourselves. We keep defining our experience here on life in a way that aligns with that negative story. And we keep getting the same thing over and over and over again. It's like you're reading a story, expecting the story to change, but you're reading the same page over and over and over again. It's going to just keep replaying itself. What's the best thing to do? Change the story itself, right? So this is what I mean is that you're the author of your life. You're not the story. You're the author of your life. You're not the story. And let's break down how that actually works, your actual potential, your actual power. So let's say you want to feel good. Okay. Let's say that is the desire that you want. And you're over here right now and you're sad, right? What happens here, okay, is that how do we feel good? Well, we need to change something. So we need action. Action must be involved in order to change anything in our lives, right? We cannot just sit still and expect everything to change. Won't work like that. So action needs to be held. So what creates our actions in our lives is our identity, right? And your identity is tied into your core thoughts plus emotions held over time. Neuroscience shows that it will then neurons that fire together, wire together. So it will create your identity. We naturally take action based off our identity. Actions produce the results in our lives, right? The only reason why we would be unhappy is overall the way that we feel or think about ourselves, right? If you had a partner in your life who was always bashing you, always beating you up every single day, making you feel bad, it's not going to feel good, right? You're overall not going to feel that good when someone's there all the time. But that's what it's like for us in our own minds. You know, we got to be our own best friends. We can't be someone who bullies ourselves because then of course, we're going to feel sad. But also, we're often sad because of the results that we got in our lives. I don't have enough money. I don't have this relationship. I'm lonely, whatever it may be. But let's take a step back here, okay? So, if typically we're sad because of the results in our lives or our most dominant emotions, right? Maybe we even feel like we're broken, feel like something's wrong with us, right? Or it could even be your thoughts, right? One or the other that we're paying attention to is making us sad. Okay. Well, how is this stuff produced? Because this is where a lot of us get sidetracked. And society kind of pushes this as well, is the victim mindset. This is happening to me. I'll tell you right now, you'll never change when you give away your power. And what I mean by that is that when you blame everything on some external of yourself, you can't change it, right? You can't change it because you lose all your power. You give your power away. But when you claim it and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm going through, I take ownership of it all, I take a full responsibility, guess what now? You can change it because it's not outside of yourself. You can change it now. So that's the first thing is stepping into the leadership role, the ownership role, and letting go of any kind of victim mentality. So, okay, we know now that actions are producing the results in our lives, right? And we know that, okay, well, we're either sad from the results that we have in our lives or just overall how we feel, right? So, our emotions or our thoughts. And a thought held for 7 seconds produces emotion because your brain doesn't know if it's imagining it or if it's just actually experiencing it. It's just always experiencing it. Okay? So when you constantly have those negative thoughts about yourself, right, you're going to feel it and you're going to start to identify with it and start to actually believe it. But here's the question is what is producing those thoughts? Because I am not my thoughts. It's proven. I go into a meditation, I sit in the seat of the observer and I observe everything. These thoughts are just coming all over the place, right? They're all over the place. Well, what we found out is that it's your core beliefs or fears that are producing these thoughts that you have. Okay. So what does that mean then? Because again, we now know as well that thought and emotion produce actions over time, right? You take action based off your identity over time. So what this means is that the reason why I might be unhappy isn't actually because of my external world and my results. It's not because of this. It's all coming from, these are all just projections. It's all coming from the core beliefs that I have about myself. Because if that core belief wasn't there, you would then be thinking differently, you would be feeling differently, and therefore you'll act differently, and your results in life would be different. So it always comes down to the root. But what do most of us do when we are unhappy, right? What do most of us do when we are unhappy in life? Well, typically, what we do is we're going to try to change anything but the internal, right? If I'm unhappy, maybe I'll change my state through drugs or I'll distract myself, right? Anything to get out of the present moment so I don't have to deal with my current situation, right? So I'll do drugs, I'll distract myself, I'll play the blame game and become a victim to make it easier to accept or to try to deal with the situation, which just leads then to constant suffering because anything that takes away your power is depressing, right? Anything that removes you from your most authentic self, your soul, your powerful potential is going to be depressing and upsetting. And you got to remember is that you're the author of your story. But it can get so tricky because your beliefs do not ever want to leave. Your beliefs will not want to leave. They will stay hidden in the shadows as long as possible because the brain cares about one thing, like I mentioned, the animal brain, the lizard brain, cares about one thing, keeping you alive, safe and secure. And your core beliefs are in your subconscious mind, which run 95% of our lives. So that doesn't want to change because once that changes, the animal brain's like, what do I go based off of? How do I act? What do I do? Like, that's the unknown. I don't know what's on the other side if I let go of control. I don't know what's on the other side if I stop playing the story that I've been playing about myself. But you will realize so much freedom on the other side of that once you can move through it and keep expanding. So, we often try to change overall, as you can see, we change the external world. But here's the thing, if you change the external world, you will always end up finding a way back home to your inner. You will always find a way back home to your inner world. The external is a reflection of the internal. It's not the opposite. So this is why no matter how many times you do drugs or distract yourself or you blame it on something else or whatever you may try to change the external about yourself, it's why deep down that core belief is still there. And it's going to still reproduce over and over and over and over again. So this is where you dive into becoming the alchemist of your life. Number one is clear. You need to be clear on what I don't want. So you got to be clear on what you don't actually want, right? You don't know, if you don't know, or what do I want? So if you don't know what you want, you at least know what you don't want, right? We need a clear, intentional picture of what it looks like, of where we want to go. You know, one of the biggest reasons of why so many people don't accomplish things in their lives isn't because they're not good enough or they don't have the power or the potential. It's usually just because of their core belief systems, but also is that they're just not focused, right? They don't have clear, specific, intentional focus and action. So life doesn't know what to give you if you don't know what you want. So be very clear. What do I specifically want? I want to be happy. I want to be fulfilled. I don't want to worry all the time about my business. I don't want to always be stressed out about my family and death and health. Be very clear on what you do want, or at least on what you don't want. So once you're clear, now number two is that we want to then rewire. Rewire and release. Okay, we're going to let go of the stories that no longer serve us and who we want to become. So we need to catch the story that we've been playing about ourselves. All right, and the easiest way is to review your actions, okay, your habits or patterns. So patterns can be a cycle, right? Oh, I just made a bunch of money and then I self-sabotaged and lost it all. Oh, I just got this, I just hit a new weight loss goal and then I self-sabotaged after. That's a pattern. All right. So actions, habits, patterns, and also your overall feelings and thoughts. And you want to get clear on what is not what I desire. Okay. So what is it in your actions that you don't like? So maybe it's like I'm snacking. Maybe it's like I am too much in control at my work, right? Number two, habits, patterns, same thing, right? Feelings, thoughts, maybe I can't do this. Or what if it doesn't work? Oops. You guys get what I'm writing out. What if it doesn't work? Right? These are common thoughts. These are not in alignment with who you want to become. Think of it like this. The person that you want to be, who has what you want, do they think like that? No. Do they feel like that way? No. Why? Because they're playing a different story. And they're playing a different story, which means they're getting different results in their lives. So once we're clear, okay, once we're clear on what we don't want, right? So actions, habits, patterns, emotions, thoughts. Once we're clear on what we do want, how we act, how we feel, how we think, and we're clear on what we don't want, then we just need to rewire the core belief. So we need to find what is producing this, which is our core beliefs or fears. So you can find this by asking yourself a few questions from a different perspective. And some of the questions that you can ask yourself, I'll just put this over here, is you want to question, what is the lesson that this might be teaching me? What is the belief about me or the world? Or what am I holding on to that's not mine? Okay, so what is the lesson that I must learn in this situation to be experiencing this? What is the belief? Or what am I holding on to that's not actually mine to hold on to anymore? And when we can ask these certain questions in the right way, we will uncover the hidden core beliefs, the lesson that needs to be learned, or the situation. Because remember, the brain will only keep acting, thinking, feeling in a way that is aligned with your core beliefs. Your brain will only get you to do, think, act, feel, whatever it may be. It will only do what it truly believes serves it. What it truly believes is going to keep it safe and secure. Okay, what is best for it. That's it. So the logical brain's like, well, that doesn't make sense though. Why would I keep eating unhealthy? Why would I keep sabotaging this when I know it doesn't align with me? The brain doesn't care about that. The brain cares about making sure that core story gets reproduced over and over and over again. So there's got to be some sort of either reasoning of why we're doing what we're doing because we believe that it's serving us in some sort of matter or purpose, right? And behind that, there's got to be a core limiting belief that's producing that. And I say it's a limiting belief because it's not aligned with who we want to become. So it's limiting us. It's keeping us trapped. It's keeping us stuck. Or maybe there's a fear of the unknown of what's on the other side if you do get through this pain and suffering, right? Or maybe even too, there's just a lesson that you need to learn that is trying to show you so you can move forwards. That's what I found in myself and training over 500 plus clients to do this. So let's go over two examples. And I'll share with you some personal examples. So when it comes to trust, a limiting belief, and also when it comes to a pattern that was reproducing in my life over money. So starting out with the pattern. Okay, so finding the pattern, right? What was happening in my life is that I would have a big success. So let's say I would hit a record, right, of success. And mind you, I want you to tie this into whatever serves you personally. I'm just sharing my own personal experiences. So maybe you're watching this right now and it's your weight, right? Maybe it's your relationships that you get into. You find a great relationship, then you self-sabotage. You're your own worst enemy, right? Whatever relates to you. So what was happening for me in this pattern is, let's say I hit a new record with finances or whatever it may be and start pouring into my life, right? What would be happening is, of course, be super happy, feel awesome. But then eventually I would self sabotage, unconsciously though. And I would find a way where this money would then leave. And then I was stuck in panic and stress. And I was overwhelmed. And then this would cause me to go take major action, whatever it may be, get it back up, and then it keep reproducing over and over and over again. Obviously, I didn't like that. So I dissected myself. So what I did is, in order for this pattern to keep reproducing itself, even though I know it's not in line with who I want to become, what would I have to believe to be true about myself or money? And then what came up was hard to make money. Money equals stress. I had core beliefs that number one, it's very hard to make money. Now, is that universally true? No, because again, the people who are doing the concrete work, who are working their butts off, they would be the billionaires then. So it's not universally true. So we can eliminate that limiting belief. But if I truly believe that money is hard to make, I'm always going to go find a way to make money in a way that's hard or that's hard for me. Because again, that's the brain's core belief system. It needs to reproduce that to feel safety and security so that program can keep replaying itself over and over again. Even though logically it doesn't make sense, this is how we function. So, same thing with money equals stress, right? If you truly believe that, whatever programming you had growing up that caused you to believe that, you're going to keep finding a way to make sure when you make money, stress comes with it as well. Because that's the way you've always been. That's the way you've always functioned. And again, even if the logical mind's like, well, that just doesn't make sense. Like that's stupid. It doesn't have to be that way. I know. But if we keep trying to change the external, you try to keep making more money, guess what? It's not going to go away, that stress. Because we're not changing the internal first. So once I rewired these limiting beliefs and I stepped into my new empowering beliefs, money equals freedom and ease. Money flows in abundance. That feels more expansive. That feels like who I actually want to be rather than money is so hard to make and this, right? That feels constricting. Doesn't feel good. Once I eliminated those, there was no more reason to continue this pattern. So if I would make the record, right, what would then happen is happy, but then I wouldn't self-sabotage anymore. The loop did not have to keep replaying because there was no root to it. The limiting belief is gone. So then, in a little bit of time, after I changed my internal world, got it on track, the external world followed through as well. So that is a pure example of how a pattern works. Now, let's go through an example when it comes to trust. So I had a limiting belief that I could not trust people. So what I would do in my life, so let's say you have a core belief that I can't trust, right? Well, what would you be thinking? Oh, is that person cheating on me, right? Are they doing me wrong? What's their motives? And then how would you feel? You'd feel uneasy. And how would you act then? Well, if you couldn't trust, but you want to be with someone, or it may be, maybe you would try to control, right? I'm going to control this because I can't trust in them. I can't trust in people and the way things are going to work out. So I need to control it myself. But what's the results then? It's tension, and it's not flow. It wasn't natural, it wasn't good, it wasn't healthy. And this can be anything too. Maybe you have trust issues to let go of something at work. So you just keep doing it over and over and over again because you can't trust in your team or whatever it may be to take control. Right? But if we remove that T there, I can trust. How are we going to think then? We're going to think in expansive ways. Expansive ways. New ways. Right? We're going to feel, instead of uneasy, we're going to feel easy. We're going to feel in flow. We're going to feel good that we can trust. Act, we won't need to control. We will just trust in a way. So we will just focus on ourselves. We'll focus on, hey, I'm going to let you do this. I'm going to let you take control of this at work. I'm going to whatever it may be because we can trust. And then what's the results? You're going to be feeling so much more free, right? You're going to feel so much more free. You're going to feel in flow and you're going to feel free. You're going to feel so much better. So there's just two examples on how powerful this is. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the training for today. Now, if you did like this training, guys, please make sure you like and subscribe down below for more. I'll be producing more content just like this non-stop. And if you want my free course, there's a link down below too where you can take my free course, The Dream Self Creator. And I'll see you guys on the next training. Thank you so much for your support. Have an amazing rest of your day.